Hello friends, welcome to Communication Skills for Everyone. Today, let us learn the poem Daddy by Sylvia Plath. So first, let us know about Plath. Plath was born October 27, 1932. So she was an American poet, novelist, and short story writer. She is the best known for two of her published collections, The Clauses and Other Poems, which were in 1960, and the second one, Ariel, in 1965. So also, The Bell Jar, a semi-autobiographical novel published shortly before her death in 1963. So for Clauses and Other Poems, Plath was awarded a Pulitzer Prize in Poetry in 1982. So let us look at the summary of Daddy. The poem Daddy begins with the speaker describing our father in several different striking ways. He is at once a black shoe. She was trapped within a vampire, a fascist, and a Nazi. While alive, and since his death, she has been trapped by his life. He holds her back and contains her in a way she is trying to contend with. She has to kill her father in order to get away from him. So this is a summary. Let us look at stanza by stanza. The first stanza, when we look at the first stanza, begins of Daddy, right? Speaker reveals the subject of whom she speaks in no longer. So his father is no longer. That's why she says and repeats, "You don't know, you do not do." Right? Is the following line is rather kind of shocking, or as it doesn't express laws of sadness. On opposite, it begins to reveal the nature of his particular father-daughter relationship. The speaker, yet the poet compares a father to a black shoe. It seems like a strange comparison until the third line reveals that the speaker herself has felt like a foot. Foot, right? So herself like a foot. Where is your foot? That has been forced to live 30 years in that shoe. 30 years in that shoe. The food is poor and white because 30 years it has been suffocated by the shoe and never allowed to see the light of day. The last stanza of the reveals the speaker felt not only suffocated by her father but fearful of him as well. In fact, she expresses that her fear of him was so intense that she was afraid to even breathe or sneeze. So when we look at the stanza 2, so this stanza 2 talks about the speaker also discusses her own personal desire to kill her father. The first line states, "I have had to kill you. Daddy, I have had to kill you." This indicates this. The next line goes on to explain that the speaker actually did not have time to kill her father because he died before she could manage to do it. She doesn't make this confession regretfully or sorrowfully. Rather, she calls him a bag full of God, which suggests that her view of her father as well as her view of God was one of fear and repetition. She talks him as a ghostly statue with one braid too big as a fresco seal. Her description of her father as a statue suggests that she saw no capacity for feeling in him. A fresco seal, right? It's a fresco seal refers to one of the sea lions that can be seen in San Francisco. When she describes that one of his toes is as big as a seal, it reveals that the reader just how big and overbearing our father seems to have. He was hardened without feelings, and now that he is dead, she thinks he looks like an enormous and big statue. So that's what she talks in stanza 2. Let us move to the 3. So here, let us move to the 3. So here, looking at her dead father, the speaker described Georgia's scenery of the Atlantic Ocean, and beautiful area of Nauset, right? Beautiful area of Nauset. However, she also uses the word freakish to precede her descriptions of beautiful Atlantic Ocean. This reveals that even though her father may have been a beautiful specimen of a human being, she knew personally that there was something awful about him. In the final two lines of this stanza, the speaker reveals that at one point during her father's sickness, she even prayed that he would recover. The last line of the stanza is the German phrase, oh, right, oh, you, right, this, oh, do, oh, this means, oh, do you, right, this in German. In stanza 4, Daddy the speaker begins to wonder about her father and his origins. His origins. The speaker knows that he came from a Polish town where German was the main language spoken. That's what German tongue. She explained that the town he grew up in had endured one war after another. She would never be able to identify which specific town he was from because the name of his hometown was a common name. This is a common, generally used name. This stanza ends mid sentence. The speaker begins to explain that she learned something from the Follock friend. This is a Follock friend. So the stanza 5 talks here. The stanza 5 talks about speaker finishes what she began to explain in the previous stanza by explaining that she learned from a friend that the name of Polish town her father came from and was a very common name. For this reason, she concludes that she could never tell where he put his foot. It's clear she will not ever be able to know exactly where his roots are from. She had never asked him because she could never talk to him. After this, speaker even explains that she was afraid to talk to him. She states, the tongue stuck in my jaw, the tongue stuck in my jaw, when explaining the way she felt when she wanted to talk to her father. That indicates that in stanza 6, she continues to describe the way she felt around her father. She felt as though her tongue was stuck in barbed wide. Each is the German word for eye. This eye. This reveals that whenever she wanted to speak to her father, she could only shudder and say, I. She then describes that she thought every German man was her father. This reveals that she doesn't distinguish him as someone familiar and close to her. Rather, she views him as she sees any other German man, harsh and obscene. That's what this is, harsh and obscene, right? Majority of them. In that way, she says. And when we move to the stanza, the speaker begins to reveal the readers that she felt like a jaw under the reign of her German father. This is very strong comparison, and the speaker knows this and yet does not hesitate to use this simile. So, and then she concludes to talk like a jaw, like one who was oppressed and silenced by German oppressors. Then she concludes that because she feels the oppression that the Jews feel, she identifies with the Jews and therefore considers herself a Jew. So maybe there's one. When we move to eighth stanza, speaker continues to criticize the Germans as the compares the snows of Tyre, clear be of Vienna. Then the speaker considers her ancestry and gypsies that were part of her heritage. So gypsies like Jews were singled out for execution by the Nazis, and so the speaker identifies not only with Jews but also with gypsies. In fact, when we see, he seems to identify with anyone who has ever felt oppressed by the Germans. So the last line, Jews and part gypsy. Jews and part gypsy. The ninth stanza, speaker finds the courage to address her father now that he is dead. She admits that she has always been afraid of him. She implies that her father had something to do with the air, so Air Force has, that is how the word laughter, right? This laughter translates right to English and next gobbledygook. However, it's simply gibberish. This implies the speaker feels that her father and his language made no sense to her. In this example, she felt afraid of him and feared everything about him. She never was able to understand him, and he was always someone to fear. She was afraid of his neat mustache and his Orion eye, bright blue. This description of his eyes implies that he was one of those Germans whom the Nazis believed to be superior race. He was Aryan with blue eyes. He was something fierce and terrifying to the speaker, and she associates him closely with the Nazis, right? The Nazis associates with the Nazis. That's fine. So let us move to stanza 10. The speaker compares her father to God. She clearly sees God as a big, overbearing being who clouds her world. That's why she explains her father as a giant black swastika. So, yeah, swastika that covered the entire sky. The third line of the stanza begins a sarcastic description of women and men like her father. She mockingly says every woman adores a fascist and then begins to describe the violence of men like her father. She uses the word brute three times in the last two lines of this stanza. Uses the word brute three times. Right, this 11th one, when we move to the 11th, the speaker explains her father as a teacher standing at the blackboard. The author's father was, in fact, a professor. This is how the speaker views her father. She can see the cleft in his chin as she imagines him standing there at the blackboard. Then she describes that the cleft that is in his chin should really be in his foot. This simply means that she views her father as the devil himself. The devil is often characterized as an animal with cleft feet, and the speaker believes he wears his cleft in his chin rather than in his feet. Her description of her father as a black man doesn't refer to his skin or skin color, but rather to the darkness of his soul. The darkness of his soul. The stanza ends the word who, because of Arthur, breaks the stanza mid sentence. That's what it ends like who. 12, stanza 12, here bit my pretty. So the speaker finishes her sentence and reveals that her father has broken her heart. She says that she has bit Fretty red heart in two. The rest of the stanza reveals a deeper comprehension of the speaker's relationship with her father. So he was a cruel, overbearing brute at one point of her life. She loved him dearly. It's possible that as a child she was able to love him despite his cruelty. As an adult, however, she cannot see past vices. This stanza explains that the speaker was only 10 years old when her father died, and that she mourned for him until she was 20. She even tried to end her life in order to see him again. She thought that even if she was never to see him again in an afterlife, to simply have her bones buried, buried by his bones would be enough to comfort her. Stanza 13 reveals that reveals that she was not able to commit suicide even though she tried, right? She attempted, right? She reveals that she was found and pulled out of the sack and stuck back together with glue. At that point, the speaker experienced a kind of revelation. She realized that she must recreate her father. She decided to find and love a man who reminded her of her father. So this, the speaker has already suggested that women love a brutal man, and perhaps she is now confessing that she was once such a woman. This is why the speaker says that she finds a model of her father, who is a man in black with a man wall, right? This is a kind of this is one look means my struggle. The last line of the stanza likely mean that man she found to marry looked like our father and like Hitler. So that's what father and like Hitler. This says. When you look at the 14th stanza, speaker tried to reveal the man she married enjoyed to torture. This is why she describes him as having a love of the rack and the screw. She confesses that, right? Rack and the screw. She confesses that she married him when she says, and I said, I do, then she tells her father that she's true. This means that having recreated her father by marrying a harsh German man, she no longer needed to mourn her father's death. She then describes a relationship with her father, a relationship with her father, right? Her father's death. So a kind of a father has a phone call, right? This is what it says, a phone call. Telephones off at the road. Now she has hang up and the call is forever ended. The call is ended. 15th stanza reminds or recollects the reader that she has already claimed to have killed her father. She revealed that he actually died before she could go to him, but she still claims the responsibility for his death. Now she says that if she has killed one man, she is killed two. It's most likely in reference to her husband. She refers to her husband as a vampire, one who was supposed to be just like her father. As it turned out, he was not just like her father. In fact, he drained the life from her. This is why she refers to him as a vampire who drank her blood. Generally, that's what they drank her blood. So in next stanza, when we are taught of stanza this, it reveals her father, though dead, she has somehow lived on like a vampire to torture her, disclaimed that she must kill her father the way that a vampire must be killed, with a stake to the heart. She then goes on to explain to her father that the villagers never liked you. She explains that they dance and storm on his grave. The speaker says that the villagers always knew it was. They suggest that the people around them always suspected that there was something different and mysterious about her father. With the final line, the speaker tells her father that she's through with him while he has been dead for years. It is clear that her memory of him has caused her great grief and struggle. Let us look at what maybe the conclusion of this. The daddy, right? The Sylvia Plath begins the daddy with her present understanding of her father and the kind man that he was. Then offers readers some background explanation of her relationship with her father, and the poem progresses that they realize she has not always seen him as a brute, although she makes it clear, and he always has been oppressive. As a child, the speaker did not know anything apart from her father's mentality, and so she prays for his recovery and then mourns his death. She even wishes to join him in death. This is about Daddy by Sylvia Plath. Thank you for watching. Subscribe Communication Skills for Everyone for more academic and educational videos.